topic. Let's begin by understanding what bankruptcy is. Bankruptcy is a legal process by which a person or organization declares inability to pay outstanding debts. How do we handle this process in the collections application? A bankruptcy request is initiated on behalf of the customer. So the customer would let a collector know that they have started this legal process, and then the collector would go in to the application and initiate this process to make sure that collection activities are suspended. Now, legal information such as claims, attorneys involved, filing locations can be captured using descriptive flex fields. Descriptive flex fields are fields that you can use to store information unique to your organization, your industry, or for special circumstances or scenarios like this one. So it allows you to capture unique information. There may not be a field in the collections application to capture attorney information or claim information, but you can use the descriptive flex field functionality to be able to capture that type of information. Now, of course, the bankruptcy requests are basically sent to an appropriate person for approval. What this means is that we have a workflow process that will route that approval to a collection manager, for example, so that they can look at the request and approve or reject. After a bankruptcy request has been submitted and potentially approved, that bankruptcy request can be withdrawn. So users can submit a bankruptcy withdrawal request after a bankruptcy request has been approved. A notification is sent to the appropriate person. Again, I'm using the example of a collections manager to approve that withdrawal request. So there's a workflow that handles both the initial request for bankruptcy and then the bankruptcy withdrawal. And once that bankruptcy withdrawal request is approved, the customer status switches from bankrupt to delinquent. Now, what are the configurations that are necessary to use this bankruptcy request functionality? There is an important setting in global preferences that needs to be turned on for your organization to use this functionality. As we can see here, the setting is enable bankruptcy. If this option is set to yes, the bankruptcy sub-tab appears under the profile tab in the collections work area. Now, at the end of the topic, I'm going to demonstrate how to process a bankruptcy, so we are going to become very familiar with this bankruptcy sub-tab. For now, what we would like to do is go to the Functional Setup Manager and take a look at this configuration, at this particular setting under Global Preferences. So I'm going to navigate to the application from the home page, Settings and Actions menu. I'm going to click on Setup and Maintenance. And from there, I'm going to select Financials. And then I'm going to locate the collections functional area. The task that I'm interested in is this Manage Collections Preferences. I'm going to click on the link. And this takes me to the collections preferences. Now, of course, at the top we have global preferences, and these are settings that are going to impact the collections application as a whole. So if I look in here, I'm going to locate the Enable Bankruptcy option right at the bottom of the global preferences. And at this moment, it is set to yes. So that means that this option will be enabled for all business units. Okay, it's not a setting that can be enabled for one business unit only or for a group of business units. It's something that's going to be available for all business units. All right, so I'm going to return to the PowerPoint. And so what we want to discuss now is another important configuration, and that will be bankruptcy reasons. Reasons allow you to report and track different types of bankruptcy requests. And so you have the ability to go into the functional setup manager and add additional reason codes to the list. So let's navigate back to the functional setup manager and take a look at how this can be done. I'm going to go ahead and click on cancel. And once I'm back here, of course, I can look for the task by selecting all tasks for the same functional area, collections, that I chose earlier. Then here in the search field, I'm going to input some keywords. So I'm looking for manage collection lookups, and there it is. Now, of course, there's different types of lookups, and the one that I'm interested in has to do with the bankruptcy request process. So I'm going to put in the word bank and the wildcard percentage. And if we look down below, this is the lookup type that I'm interested in, bankruptcy underscore disposition underscore reason. Now, right now we have 3 here, and they're all associated with the common set ID. Now here we see the meaning of them. Entered in error, filed for bankruptcy, reorganized. These values are going to be visible to me when I proceed to do the demonstration on how to process a bankruptcy request. We can add more to the list. Now here, what I'll do is return to the presentation. Again, the idea is that these are very, very useful for reporting and tracking purposes. Now, how do we process a bankruptcy request? What happens as a bankruptcy request is being created or is being initiated? To actually, initiate the bankruptcy request, you will find that it's a very easy process. It doesn't take much. You navigate to the collections work area, and you select the customer in question, and by the push of a button, that request is initiated, and of course the workflow kicks in and routes a notification to the appropriate person, that collections manager or supervisor that's supposed to review the request and approve or reject. So that's kind of the process that you will see in a moment when I demo this. But what is the impact? I would like to discuss here the impact to a customer. And so we would like to highlight that when a bankruptcy request is approved, it will have an impact on a customer. That means all accounts under that customer, all account size under that customer, and all transactions. And so this is the impact that we are going to see. Collection activities are going to be suspended. Delinquent transactions no longer appear in the collections work area. So that customer is no longer going to be displayed in the collections work area. Of course, a collector can find the customer and view the transactions associated with the customer, but they're not going to be able to do or perform any collection activities such as receiving a payment or even putting in a payment promise or dispute a transaction, because again the customer has filed for bankruptcy. They're unable to make payments. In addition to what we have highlighted, the customer will show a status of bankrupt. Okay, so the one thing here to highlight is that all transactions for a customer are going to be impacted. And so the bankruptcy requests are processed at the customer level. All accounts, all sites, all customer transactions are included, are impacted. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. And this is a quick summary of the demo that I'm about to do. I'm going to navigate to the collections work area to initiate a bankruptcy request. Once the bankruptcy request is initiated, a notice will be sent to a collections manager for approval. I will log in as that collections manager and approve, and then I'm going to return to the collections work area. As a collector, I'm going to log in with the credentials of a collector to review and see if that customer account is still being displayed, or what I expect to see that is that specific customer will be gone once I go back to the collections work area following the approval of the bankruptcy request. So what I'll do now is I will go in to the application, and of course I'm logged in as different individuals with different credentials so that I can show you these different aspects of the process. So in these browser pages here, I'm logged in as a collector, Jim Jones. So I'm gonna go and select collections here in the applications section, and then in this icon I'm gonna go ahead and click the collections icon. That takes me to the collections work area, and so here in the landing page I am going to pick this customer business world. Okay, right now we see that is a delinquent customer, and it shows here as assigned to me. I'm acting as Jim Jones, a collector. And so here I'm going to click on Business World. And that takes me here where I can see multiple pages that will give me all kinds of information, including transactional information, aging, donning history, and of course if I go to Profile, there are details about the customer in question. And notice that there are two additional subtabs, strategies. These might be things that have been assigned to me to do, tasks. But then again, if I click on the bankruptcy subtab, I have the option here to request bankruptcy for this customer business world, which I'm going to do now. So all it takes is to click on this button. So I'm going to click on the button. And the reason is going to be mandatory. We know we can add additional reasons to the list. There are 3 of them now, but if you go to the functional setup manager and find the manage collections lookups task, you can add additional values that can be displayed here. So I'm going to say file for bankruptcy and put in a comment. Okay, so here I'm gonna go ahead and click on Save and Close. Of course, I can upload additional documentation to support this request. It allows me to upload attachments here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on Save and Close, and done. Now, if I go back to the customer for a moment, I want to highlight a couple of things. The fact here that we see a bankruptcy request audit log, so to speak. So we see information about this request, the date and who initiated the request, and the fact that the status is request pending because it's pending to be approved or rejected. Right, so I'm going to click on Done. Now I'm going to go in as the collections manager. So I'm going to go to the application and pretend I'm a collections manager, and I'm going to proceed to approve this. So I have these browser pages open here, and I'm logged into the application. But here I'm using different credentials. I'm Sharon Colby here, a collections manager. So if I click on this notifications icon, we call it the bell or notifications icon, I should be able to see the notification, and I do. Bankruptcy request approval for Business World. So I'm going to click on the hyperlink. And of course, here I can see the comments made by the collector, Jim. And if there were any attachments, I would be able to review those. So at this moment, what I'm going to do is go ahead and approve this workflow notification, I'm gonna take action. And so after I close that window, I can just click on approve here. Okay. Now the next thing here is to go back to the collections work area and see what happens. See if we still find the customer there. So I'm gonna now return to the application, this time as a collector, Jim Jones. And so here I am. I'm gonna click on collections and then the collections icon. And here I'm back to the collections work area. Now I do not see Business World anymore here in my list of delinquent customers. It used to be 12 delinquent customers and now I have 11. And Business World is gone. Now of course I can go here and search for Business World if I want to. But I will not be able to perform any collection activities against any of the transactions of this customer because this customer is officially bankrupt. It shows that status in the collections application. All right, so I'm going to return to the PowerPoint. And so at this point we have discussed what bankruptcy is, what it means. It's a legal process by which a person or organization declares the inability to pay outstanding debts. We have also demonstrated how bankruptcy is handled in the collections application. A collector initiates the process in the collections applications on behalf of the customer. Then we know that once that process is submitted and approved, all collection activities are suspended at that point, as we were able to see. One more point that we want to highlight here is the fact that the bankruptcy requests are processed at the customer level. All accounts of that particular customer, all customer account sites are impacted, as well as all transactions. And this concludes this topic in managing bankruptcy. So now we'll take a break and then we'll come back for our next topic.